Well, what's up, people? It is Kneecap Biting with the Detroit Lions. I am the host, Smoking Jeremy B. It looks like I'm flying solo because nobody understands that 8 p.m. is 7 Central or 6 Mountain or 7 Pacific. I had guests lined up, but nobody's showing. But it is the NFC North review. I do have a little bit of things to talk about. Should we start from the bottom up or should we start from the top down from last year's standings? Brian Three Cushion says, "Hey, Smoke." Mark Malik, as usual, Super Bowl or bust. I have to bring the chat this way so I can see it. There we go. So much for the chat overlay. It's not working properly. Dom has been busy with the new girlfriend. I sent him the invite tonight. Hopefully he hops in. That'd be nice. Will Vogel can't make it. Our pseudo Lions fan / Panthers fan. He's working late tonight. Valerie Bordeaux of Detroit Lions on the Prowl will be in here late in a little bit, but I want her to rep the team she started as a fan of, the Chicago Bears. Oh, there she is, the queen of the Prowl.
There I am. All right. Hold on. Let me make sure my camera. All right.
Do it that way. How are you tonight?
I'm all right. Other than you shocking me out of the last minute about being on the show.
DC is DC. He hasn't sent, he'll always send me a email telling me he wants to be on the show when he wants to be on, but he usually doesn't come on the NFL shows. He just comes on the
Right.
Friday Lions fan chat. Oh, Dan Leonard wants to be on. Woohoo! Cool. So, what did you think of the Bears free agent acquisitions this year?
Hmm. All right.
I think the best
They're
one
nothing
still.
spectacular to
I
talk
think your
about.
best one came via trade, trading away the first pick overall. You weren't taking a QB this year. Maybe you should
Mm-mm.
have, but that's
No.
another story.
No, I actually like Justin Fields. I really do.
I
But
just like giving Chicago Bear
yeah,
fans crap.
yeah. I like Justin
Hey,
Fields.
how you
What?
doing, Mr. Leonard?
What's up, guys?
Long time no see, my friend.
I know, I know. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. Everybody needs a reset. We get it. Valerie has literally retired Detroit Lions on the Prowl. It's still here, but
Mm-hmm.
it's not doing any new content anymore.
Wow.
Nope. Nope. No, actually, what we're doing is anybody who's subscribed and who is paying it to be a paid member, and any income that we receive from the show will be used to help podcasts that have a lower subscriber count than ours get the equipment or software or whatever you need. I know. I still owe you the two buddy thing. I know.
I know. It's okay. Every time you see me, you say that.
I swear it's on my shit list of things to do, but
It's okay. It's okay. That's okay. I've been growing quite well, and now with the lowered expectations by YouTube, getting paid happens sooner for most podcasters. Have you heard about that?
mm-hmm. Yeah.
They lowered the expectations to 500 subs and 3,000
Yep.
watch hours. I'm over
Yep.
half on both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm up to 277 was the last count tonight. I just didn't get a chance to edit it. I don't know what I said. I gained one more since last Friday. But hey, slow and steady sometimes is better than fast and furious. Because when you grow slow and steady, it's people that are actually interested in you and what you have to say.
Right.
So, what did you think of the draft class for the Bears?
It was pretty decent. It covered the needs that we needed to cover, but the Bears needed to cover.
I
But
mean,
it's not a
how many tight ends are on the Chicago Bears roster with UDFA's now?
No, I don't think we have that tight end issue. We haven't had that tight end issue for a while now, like that.
Last year, prior to the season, it was 10.
Yeah, but we kind of.
But with the tackles you had on the roster, I understand it, because 9 of them were supposed to be blocking tight ends that still couldn't block anybody.
We still got Lazy Eye Jenkins on the fucking script.
So I think you're down to 8 this year. I think you're down to 8 total. And Chad.Tima pops in. Hey, Jeremy. It's good to see you, buddy. I just had another. But, yeah, it's been a tumultuous year this offseason because you guys had the most money to spend, and you spend most of it. You did.
We still got quite a healthy chunk.
Yeah, you still got a healthy chunk, and so do the other team that improved the most in the North compared to last year. I think we're the 2 most improved teams in the division.
Yeah, and what's interesting is the Lions and the Bears are neck and neck in salary cap as well.
Right. But the difference is next year we have all that ton of salary cap again. Right now we're sitting at $90 million. If we don't do a bunch of stupid signings throughout the end of the year, we could roll over and make it over 100. If it goes up again like it's supposed to next year, that means we could be looking somewhere between 110 and 120 in cap space, which means if you're going to do that flashy shoot the moon for the Super Bowl, that's the year to do it.
Right.
Does anybody disagree with that?
No, I think the Lions would make plenty of sense to try to do that. The Bears.
There's DC in the comments. Hey, and it's actually the right one because it doesn't have the wrong numbers on it this time.
I would say it makes sense for the Lions to do that, not the Bears, because the Lions are closer to being there than the Bears are right
now. The Bears improved, I think, somewhere to being in that mid-range, somewhere between because it was so bad last year, I think their floor, a realistic floor should be 5 wins for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's improvement. But I know that the fans are getting impatient. And you know what I'm talking about there, Valerie.
Because we don't want fucking Justin Fields to have the damn Trubisky treatment again.
Right. I don't think he'll get the Trubisky treatment because it seems
he sort of still is.
But the problem is he wasn't drafted by this GM or this coach.
Yep.
And you know how that works. If he doesn't start looking like a quarterback that can read a defense this year, it may not bode well for him. You'll see them not pick up his 5th-year option.
No, I'm still blaming Bears management and Bears ownership because they haven't even addressed that offensive line correctly for 30 years.
And Chad.Tima says Vikings will be dead and Packers will be middle of the pack. Well, the Vikings still do have a decent offense. I don't think it's going to be quite as prolific as it has been because when you lose a player of Dalvin Cook's ability.
Mm-hmm. But see, here's the thing with the Bears and the Lions, though. The Bears have this tendency to show up. Either they blow up and they just have a spectacular run, or they fly apart at the handle and just fall apart. So it's going to depend on how they show up, whether they're going to be able to be neck and neck in competition with the Lions.
It's the on paper, it's the Lions' division to lose, and everybody else is fighting for second, in my opinion.
I mean, Bears are the closest thing up there, but
right. I'm just saying because they're the most improved, whereas the one that depleted the worst, you could say it's Green Bay by losing Aaron Rodgers, but I still think it's Minnesota with what they lost on defense, because you're replacing it with rookies that take time to gel and learn how to play in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're moving Andrew Booth, a second-year guy, as a corner to be your CB1, and you drafted another one to go opposite him. That's not a good combination when Harrison Smith is a guy that usually stays healthy through the first 5 games, then starts missing quarters, halves, and games throughout the rest of the season. And as we saw the second time we played them, it cost them huge not having Harrison Smith on the field.
I agree with you completely there, JB.
And Harrison Smith is long in the tooth and was given too long of a contract for when he was signed to his third contract with Minnesota. In my opinion, safeties are a lot like running backs with how they hit and everything else. They start getting to that 29 and 30-year-old stage. They don't play as fast. They don't cover as well. They still may tackle well, but they're not getting to them fast enough to hit squarely.
I can agree with that for the most part.
Sometimes.
I mean, once they hit 29, 30 years old, that's everybody's starting to drop off because your body's not as spry and not as limber, not as loose. Your muscles start to tighten. Your bones start to ache. You know what I'm talking about. It happens to everybody.
Yeah,
no matter what you do, 30 is when your body starts to tell you, hey, you're not 20, dumbass. And when you get to be 40 and 50, it tells you a whole lot more of dumbass stuff.
Yeah, but there are some guys that can't go
there's
beyond
the exception.
that, depending on
There's
their ability.
exceptions to every rule, 100%.
And certain positions, I mean, earlier this week I was getting involved. Somebody was trying to go, well, why should, because I was trying to make the argument that the Lions should sign Robbie Gould, who was the kicker for the Bears a while back.
Mm-hmm.
And like, why? He's a 40-year-old kicker. I said, yeah, he's the 40-year-old most consistent kicker.
But I do like that they got Riley Patterson back, and John Parker Romo has been battling him well. The guy that hasn't been around, not at all, this whole OTA, mini camps, or anything else, and probably not going to show up to the vets camp, is Michael Badgley. Everybody keeps trying to call him the money badger. Yes, he had a good year, but if it was longer than 50 yards or shorter than 30, he struggled.
However, Patterson and Romo both struggled immensely when in any type of windy condition.
That being said, when he played at an open-air stadium with Jacksonville, he won them a playoff game.
That's why I'm saying Robbie Gould would be a very good
I'm talking about Patterson
here. Yeah, but because of what the variety of conditions that kicker can do, and so that you don't have to rely on Patterson and Romo so much in conditions that you're just not so sure about.
So, I think this year this division might break down where it's Lions and then Bears or Packers and then Vikings in last, because you're not going to win 11 one-score games with a defense that's less talented. They have better coaching and better scheming, which means I doubt they'll be in as many one-score opportunities as they were. And the offense is still prolific. And say what you want, Kirk Cousins is basically Jared Goff on a better roster for years. He's the same quarterback. Look at them. They're both in between 64 and 66% as a career. They're both hovering between 90 and 95 in passer ratings. So, and touchdown to interceptions, Goff is just a hair better. Just a hair. Because he hasn't been playing as long as Kirk, and Kirk had some very horrible seasons to start when Washington, and then when he finally got to be an actual starter is when he started to show he was good, which was year 3 of his career. His first 2 years that he came in, he was abysmal.
True.
Whereas the only truly down year for Goff was his rookie season under the coach that every QB has a down season with, Jeff Fisher. You name me one QB other than Steve McNair that had a good record with Jeff Fisher, and I'll kiss your butt.
No, man, you just took away the freaking obvious one. That's not fair.
Yeah, that's the only one I know. Steve McNair.
Welcome to Google. No, I'm kidding.
Steve McNair was the only successful quarterback in Jeff Fisher's system, and he's been looking for that guy ever since, no matter where he's coached, including in the USFL, and he thought he was getting that with Shea Patterson. Garbage.
Well, Jake Delhomme was okay for him for a couple of years, wasn't he? Wait, no, that was the Panthers. Never mind.
That was the Panthers. I was like, wait a minute, no. Jake Delhomme was the Panthers. In my head. And that was prior to Ron Rivera getting there, because Ron Rivera's first quarterback was Cam Newton, right?
Yep.
You know, you look at coaching and quarterbacks, and they kind of go hand in hand. If the quarterback's doing good, the coach stays. As soon as the quarterbacks start to fail, the coaches go. And so far in Washington, Ron Rivera has not had a quarterback to make him look good as a coach yet. And that's sad, but it's true.
But yet some of these teams that have these quarterbacks they could do something with, Bears, don't do anything with their offensive line to help the guy out.
I understand. But in all actuality, there is something that the Bears did good last year, and this is a testament to yeah, your audio's been like getting kind of.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know what is going on with it, but
it almost sounds like your wire's got a short in it or something.
Yeah, it could be this headset. I could be having a short with it, so bear with me.
Yep, no problem. But the one thing I did notice with the Bears, they were 9th in a stat that made it so a quarterback shouldn't have to run as much. 9th best in the league at holding a pocket. Believe it or not, they gave him the 9th best amount of time in the league at 2.7 seconds of holding a pocket, which if he was not a one read and run, and I understand he didn't trust his wide receivers because what he had was slim to none. There was Darnell Mooney and then nobody, and Cole Kmet. So his first read was either Darnell Mooney or Cole Kmet, and then he was gone because he was a one read and run quarterback because he didn't trust anybody, and that's why you'd see people 10 to 15 yards down the fild wide open.
I don't know if he was a one-read quarterback or the fact that offensive line was making him run for his goddamn life every freaking play.
No, I went back and looked at him again. His pocket was held. He wasn't under pressure yet, and he'd start to run, and most of his sacks came from outside the tackle box while he was running. And it's also where 90% of his fumbles came from.
Yeah, and he also, he didn't have anybody really reliable to work with either.
Right. No, I mean, that's what I meant.
You're talking about Darnell Mooney.
The first couple games, it looked like he was trying to read the defense, and he was trying to make throws, and guys were dropping passes. And then after they dropped so many passes through the first 3 games, he was like, screw this. I got Darnell Mooney. I got Cole Kmet. If they're not open, I'm running.
The only person he has is Cole Kmet because Darnell Mooney is not.
Yeah, week 7 he got hurt. I think it was for a few games, and he came back. He wasn't the same.
I mean, as far as consistent, reliable, Cole Kmet is the only one there. You know,
right?
Yeah.
And now you picked up the big tight end. Was it out of Georgia?
So is it Justin Fields can't read it? Or he has nobody to work with.
He had no faith in what he had to work with, is what I'm saying.
He shouldn't have any faith in what he had to work with.
So he became a one read and run quarterback out of necessity.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. But the problem is when you're running to the wrong side where there's like 3 guys there waiting for you to get there, you end up getting sacked and fumbled a lot.
Yeah. And he's really he's almost got the same situation again this year, except he's got DJ Moore now, which is, you know.
And you guys picked up a big
hold on, I'll be right back.
Yep.
I was not always talking.
So they got DJ Moore, they had Claypool, they got Mooney, they got Komet.
They added Broderick Jones, and was it Darnell Washington? Is that the tight end you guys added?
Okay, sorry about that.
Val, in the draft, wasn't that Darnell Washington you guys added, the big tight end?
Yeah, I believe so.
So that's going to help too. So because he's a guy that doesn't mind blocking in the passing game or the run game, which should help. You guys picked up Donta Foreman, who had one fantastic game last year against the Lions, but
well, yeah, we filled in a lot of the holes that we left behind on defense, but not really at the level that I would have liked it when we
Nate
had
Davis
Cleo.
is a good guard, and by picking him up, and then the guy you drafted as a guard mid rounds, I think it was third or fourth round. They should be able to move Cody Whitehair back to center where he's better than hot garbage like he is at guard. I'm not wrong. He made a Pro Bowl as a center.
He was all right for a while back, a few years ago, maybe.
Yeah, when Mitch Trubisky was still there.
Yeah, but now, I mean, name anybody on the offensive line that's any damn good right now. I mean, you got
I like the kid you drafted, Broderick Jones. I like that kid.
Mm-hmm. None of them are anything that I'm going to write home to Mama about and be like, yeah.
And James Burgess did hop in and say Justin did have a justifiable lack of trust in his surrounding talent. This year we'll learn more about Fields than anything. The Bears had, a bummer for me, an excellent offseason. Back in the day, said Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
The problem with the Bears last year, honestly, is that with the amount of talent they had on that offense, the coach didn't game plan to their strengths.
That's true, too.
And if you have a weakness, you freaking adjust for it so that your weakness isn't a weakness. If your offensive line sucks, you slants all over the time. Slants and swing passes. Get that ball out fast. You don't need to give them five-step dropbacks and try to throw the ball 15, 20 yards downfield every time.
Pretty much. That being said, it is whether or not we see the development of Fields and him gaining trust with what he has there. Would you trust Chase Claypool, a guy that thinks he's a top 5 wide receiver and a bottom 5
Do you
wide
know
receiver?
how badly I was crying about Chase Claypool last year? Just crying. Why?
And say what and Bears fans can say what they want about David Montgomery. That O-line, what they were terrible at was run protection. They were god-awful at it.
Yeah. Listen, David Montgomery, I'll tell you this. I mean, the Bears forced the injuries on him most of the time. That's why he kind of didn't want to really play anymore. So when he comes over there, yes, he can be susceptible to injuries, but his main huge superpower is something that the Lions have struggle bust with for as long as I can remember watching them.
Tackle.
Breaking that wall. Where that hole up the middle. Y'all want to run that hole up the middle every single time and you just go.
Right. But what I'm saying is he's those guys that he's one of those guys that can make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Montgomery is the one that can actually bust through it and for several yards beyond. Whereas you had, my boy, the one you guys just got rid of, what's his name?
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams, yeah. For why that name escaped me because I really love him. He could only hit like 1 or 2 usually. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And you had Swift injured, so now you've got Montgomery who can actually do that busting through the wall like you've been wanting to do, and you just struggle bust at it for I don't know how long.
So here's the other thing I want to say about that. David Montgomery's O-line last year gave him negative 0.7 yards before contact by a defense, and he led the league in broken and missed tackles.
Yep.
So If you're getting hit behind the line, you average 4.3 yards per carry while getting hit behind the line on 90% of your plays, because that's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to a team with an O-line that provides 4.3 yards before contact, and that's without all 5 starters on the field for the last 2 years. Wouldn't you think he should probably average closer to what Swift averaged last year than what Jamal averaged?
You would assume.
Because Jamal averaged 4.3 yards per carry, and I find that very odd, seeing how the Lions created 4.3 yards for him to have
Right.
space.
Right.
And that's also why Jamal Williams didn't have a single touchdown over 10 yards running. His only one that was longer than that was his receiving touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And that was only a 29-yarder from in just outside the red zone. They hit him with a screen pass, and there was no one in front of him for 5 yards because
Hey,
nobody expected it to happen.
Sometimes it be like that.
Right.
I see it, James Burgess. I'm disagreeing with you, James, on the fact that O-line is better this year than last year. I'm still saying it's even.
I think by accident it's better than last year.
It might be like
Nate Davis is a solid
this,
guard. Colby
maybe.
Whitehair moving there. The 2 rookies are your question marks.
It's gonna be like
Lazy
this,
eye Tevin
maybe.
Jenkins still at left tackle scares me for the blind side of Justin Fields.
Maybe. This
Did you hear?
maybe. Yeah, I heard you. But it's maybe this way. And I'm not sure what they were thinking with the Claypool trade he was talking about, because they didn't have anybody. They were just trying to fill
I think you guys would have been better off when they were shopping N'Keal Harry to get him over Claypool. N'Keal Harry needed a change of place.
They could have gone down to the local Walmart or Lowe's and picked up guys.
They could have poached Tom Kennedy off our practice squad.
Well,
why not? Why not? They did poach David Blau. Wasn't that who they poached?
Well, we also poached a bunch of your guys that were like trash in the trash bin, but too. So I mean,
come on, that's funny, and you know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I got into an argument with one Bears fan. He goes, "Well, you guys need O-line depth in Detroit." I was like, the only one we're weak at is depth at right tackle. I said, as far as depth, we've got Jermaine and Freddie. We still got Matt Nelson. Why, I don't know, but it's probably because he signed for cheap. But
Chad, don't say that it can't be worse, because yes, with the Bears, it can be worse.
As someone that has listened to Val gripe on game days when she's trying to watch both the Lions and the Chicago Bears, I know it can get worse for her.
Yeah. I have been following them since they won their Super Bowl.
James Burgess, I get you there. Claypool was throwing dung at the wall and hoping it stuck, but they had better, cheaper options. Have the Vikings improved at all? I liked what they did in the draft. But mostly they improved on offense than defense. Defense, they lost Patrick Peterson. They lost Smith. Who else? They lost another one, too. It was a DN. I had it. And Danielle Hunter wants out. Wants out.
And they lost the middle linebacker, Kendrick, I believe.
Yeah, Kendricks. That's the other one. That's their Pro Bowlers they lost. And then you lose a Pro Bowler on offense in Dalvin Cook, which did garner teams to put 8 men in a box, which has led a lot to why Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, and Justin Jefferson was in single coverage and burning people left and right.
Yep.
So this is why on defense, they didn't improve at all, in my opinion. They got cheaper. Cheaper is not always better, as we saw. Go back to 2021. Watch our defense. It was atrocious.
Yeah, it was.
Going on either side of the spectrum, cheaper or going and blasting a bunch of money at a guy and grabbing him and then bringing him in. Neither of those options work well.
And we have a new viewer popping in the chat. Hello, everyone. I'm Turbo. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Turbo.
Hi,
Thanks for joining.
Turbo.
If you like what you hear, go ahead and add it. Now we will go over the Vikings. We just said their 4 key losses. Their key ads was the draft
Yep.
because they had no money to sign anybody. They are in cap hell.
Yay.
Well, right. They had no cap, so they did have to trade back. But I like what they did. They addressed some O-line. They addressed some of the defensive woes, but it's late round picks that normally you don't have to count on for starters. But when you jettison everybody with a bloated contract you can't afford anymore because their play started to diminish.
Mm-hmm.
It was a play for the future, getting rid of all those people. Is what it was.
And this is a put up or shut up year for Cousins. If he can't take this team above the midway, above 500 this year, no, seriously, it's a put up or shut up year for him.
We all know that Kirk Cousins ain't gonna put up. Where is this put up?
Hey, Kirk Cousins is like one of the greatest non-primetime quarterbacks in history.
Absolutely. And the fact that they lost 3 primetime games compared to their 6 last year, they might be better off until they face us because every single one of those games might be primetime at the end of the season.
Kirk Cousins is about as exciting as the hot dog left on the floor of a stadium.
Well, in all actuality, he's a game manager.
Dawson,
Dak Cousins and Kirk Prescott, they're basically the same quarterback, except Dak had mobility until his ankle busted. Now he has an ankle that is about as stable as DeAndre Swift's legs.
DeAndre Swift came up in a conversation yesterday. I have a friend that's a big Eagles fan, and he was saying how Swift is going to be so great because the Eagles' offensive line is so much better than the Lions. I was like, bro, can you pass some of whatever you're smoking? Because they're not that much better, if they are better at all.
It was 4.4 yards of separation for running backs for the Eagles and 4.3 for the Lions, which means that's number 1 and 2 in run blocking in the NFL. That's not just the NFC. That's the whole NFL.
Yep.
Where we lacked a little was in pass blocking. But you know what? Everybody got better by the end of the season. What didn't you see happening to Goff at the end of the year?
Him eating turf like he should. Like he should. Goddamn, I'm sorry. I didn't mean that to come out as insulting him. He shouldn't be on the ground with that offensive line, is what I'm trying to say.
And they also lost their right tackle for the season in game 3. The Vikings did last year. So that also hindered their running game as well because they like to run towards that right side. Swift is fragile, I know. I watched him for 3 seasons. We all did. But anyway.
I like this. Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the league. If that is the case, we are in deep trouble in this league.
He is one of the best wide receivers in the league. But
no, he said he's the best, not one of the best, the best.
No,
if that's the case.
I think there's like 3 or 4 guys you could say is the best wide receiver in the league. It's 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. You got Tyreek Hill. You've got, and look at what A.J. Brown is doing. Look at what Cooper Kupp does. And then you got Justin Jefferson. And you can even throw Jamar Chase in that mix, but he hasn't been doing it as long as the others.
Yeah, JJ that speaks volumes for the quality and talent of the wide receiver class. But anyhow,
but where I don't see them winning is in close games late, because that defense isn't going to stop anybody unless they really gel together by week 9.
Mm-hmm.
What might help them, though, is actually using Alexander Madison, the running back there. He's more of a pounder than Dalvin Cook was.
He may be more of a pounder, but he doesn't excite you. You know what I'm saying? You know what he is? He's Jamal Williams with a younger and a little quicker.
More or less.
Maybe. I think what we're talking about Justin Jefferson over Jamal.
No, Alexander
No.
Madison over Jamal.
Oh, okay.
And JJ is a dog. I named the dogs I like in this league. I named all 5 of them.
I mean, he's not terrible or nothing, but he's not like the. Let's not give more praise than what he's level at.
Yeah, I got it. That's where I have it. JJ is top 5. I'm not going to say he's 1. I'm not going to say he's 5th. I said no particular order. You've got Tariq. You've got JJ. You've got Jamar Chase. You've got Cooper Kupp. You've got AJ Brown. You can even throw DHop in there when he's playing. Keywords, when he's playing.
Adams.
Devontae Adams did not look the same last year.
That's because it was the Raiders, man. Nobody's good on the Raiders.
Yeah, and he's still there, so I don't expect him to do much again this year. You got porn star Jimmy that might not be able to take a snap till week 6. Tom Brady's part owner. I said A.J. Brown. I put A.J. Brown up there. Just because he is more of that complete package type of wide receiver.
The quality level in the NFL. Just
The quality level of, I mean, and if you're going to go top 10, you can even add in top 10, you got to almost put Amon-Ra in there.
Yeah.
Because out of his draft class, the 16 wide receivers that went before him, he leads in receptions, yards, and touchdowns out of all of them.
I think he'll be there, at some point within the very near future.
That already. It's the disrespect of being a Detroit Lion.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's kind of new into the mix compared to some of the other guys.
The Saints are the 3rd best team. What? How? I think in the NFC South, if somebody gets 7-10, they might win the division.
Hey, the Falcons actually looked like they went out and tried to get better.
They did.
They're the only ones there that did. Everybody else has changed their people around. Same people, just different guy.
I mean, the only thing is Derek Carr is a better game manager than Jameis Winston. I'll give him that. But they signed Jameis Winston back too, which made no sense.
I honestly think they wanted to trade up for a quarterback and they just couldn't get it done.
I might have to change my prediction on the Titans. They might get one more game just because they got DHop. They signed him the other day.
Yeah, but you know what? If he was still as good as he was, he wouldn't have sat on free agency that long and took such a low ball number.
Yeah, and the power rankings just came out on CBS and NFL, and it's funny that the Lions were ranked above the Saints in both.
Yeah, well, how are the Saints going to be ranked that higher than anybody with that right now? Their best player is Alvin Kamara, and he just pled no contest, so he's going to get freaking fines and suspensions from the NFL.
James Burgess says, fantasy football leaguers love Jameis Winston. It makes it easy to pick a starting defense against him.
Not wrong. You know what, though? James? That year that he went through 5,000 yards, if he didn't throw 30 picks to go with the 30 touchdowns, he would have had like the greatest fantasy season of all time.
I know. It was because it's a point off for every interception, right?
Yep.
And then it's so much per yardage that the corner got against him, and weren't like 10 of those pick sixes.
Yeah, it was a bad year.
It was a bad year. And one was like a 75-yard pick six. He was throwing a screen pass to someone that wasn't looking, and the corner was right there. Goes, oh, mine. Gone. I mean, not every time is it the quarterback's fault, but 90% of your interceptions are usually the quarterback's fault, trying to force it in a tight window, leading a receiver too far, not throwing it where the defense can't get it, like a good back shoulder pass. Instead, they're throwing it on the inside where the defender is and making it a 50-50 ball. If you don't have a great contested catch guy, you can't do that. which one thing you can say that Goff improved with as the season progressed. He started out with 6 interceptions through that 8 games where we went 1-6. And then he only threw one more in the next game and didn't throw one the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The Lions
Yeah.
on paper and power rankings are ranked anywhere from 3rd through 5th. So, yeah, they are top 5 on paper in the NFC right now.
They were 3 at this time last year, and they're at 5 right now, but they're still Pats, but training camp. We'll see.
Yeah. Yep. And
So why address the wide receiver position?
we finally did in round 7. We got one, and we picked up a couple of UDFAs. I'm not really touting the UDFAs, except I was right about the one that I said would make the roster first due to the stupid NFL rules.
Mhm.
Cato and Thompson, the offensive Swiss Army knife. He was waived. No one picked him up, and he came back, which automatically puts him on the active roster. He has to physically be cut or moved to the practice squad to be off the roster.
Gotcha. I was just wondering because with that Jameson Williams suspension, I was wondering if they added somebody to address that.
If you watch the interview with Brad Holmes and Peter Schrager the other day, he said, drop the running back from Jahmyr Gibbs' name. We grabbed him because he lined up 60% of his snaps at Alabama at wide receiver. We're going to use him as an offensive weapon, not a running back, which means he's probably only going to get 20% of his snaps at running back, and the rest of them will be either a passing down or in the slot, or he's played at the X and he's played at the Z, which means he's played the slot and he's played at the 1 position, and he has the speed to pull it off. And they say he runs routes like a polished second-year wide receiver, not a running back.
Huh. Okay.
And then we signed Marvin Jones Jr. back, which I think he's going to be our slot guy to start. Because I don't think you're putting Amon-Ra in the slot. He proved last year he's a good wide receiver too.
He's that mid-range guy. He's the one you want to throw kind of mid-range. You need your long deep pass guy. You need your mid-range guy, and you need your
Yeah, you need your deep threat. You need your slant boy. Your Michael Thomas, which is slant boy.
Yeah.
He so is. But you know what? He made a living off that and made millions and millions and millions of dollars doing that.
I'm not counting out Netflix. I just think Netflix is going to have a hard time beating out Mo Ibrahim from what I've been hearing coming out of camp. Because
I don't think so.
Mo Ibrahim has been showing out at camps.
There's one thing about showing out at camp and showing out on the field.
I understand. We'll see it when it comes to preseason time.
Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yep, they will be on the field at the same time versus the second string and third string defenses and switching out between the two. We'll see who runs better in the preseason games. I've said that all along. I love what I'm hearing out of camp about the guys we drafted and the ones UDFAs we signed. Corby Solsdollar, a 5th round guard, is looking great and has been taking snaps at center as well. The other Colby we got, Gainer, he is a center. The guy that I've been most disappointed with from what I've heard out of camp is Graham Glasgow coming back because they said he's been playing awful.
Oof. I got to ask you about my favorite player on the Lions, though, JB.
What's that?
How's Sam Laporta doing?
Sam Laporta is doing well. You hear good things about him and Gibbs every single offensive report there is. So, and I'm hearing the one I'm hearing the most about, and I'm tired of the hate coming from the fans and mainstream media that talk about him, local or national, is Jameson Williams. All I've heard is he's the first one in at camp, and he's the last one off the field. He waits for Amon-Ra to get done with the jugs machine and does his own routines and stays on an hour to 2 hours after he is there. He's working 10 to 12 hours a day on the field. So if that doesn't say he's dedicated to honing his craft, you all just need to back off a little.
Well, I've got no problem with him being an athlete. He just needs to put his phone down. Just put the phone down. Put the phone down.
Like I said,
everybody born after like 1999.
Put your phone down. Put your phone down.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, the bad part is, and my generation of parents ruined kids. Instead of putting them in front of the TV like our parents did, they said, here's a phone. Here's a tablet.
They should have whooped their ass and sent the kid out back.
Yes, yes. If you're not on the porch when the street light comes on, I'm whooping that ass.
Hell, I came from the generation where my parents had to be reminded at 10 o'clock at night via the television that they had kids.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Little
Time to go to bed, guys.
It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are?
Yeah, that used to be a message that came after the 9 o'clock program every night. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? I remember that. I grew up in that neighborhood at that era, at the end of that era, at least.
Our parents had to literally be reminded they had children.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what? Our
Someone's gonna
children,
remind me
us
these days.
as children, that we didn't need to have. We didn't need to have a warning label on Tide laundry detergent saying it's not edible.
Well, we tried. See, we were actually the Darwin generation. Only the dumb died young because we did everything to kill each other.
Hell yeah. I mean, we played lawn darts with steel darts that we launched 20 feet up in the air and prayed to God we didn't hit the guy at the other end in the head.
We were lighting farts on fire with freaking Aquanet hairspray and lighters. Okay.
And giggling because the flame was green.
We were trying to launch each other into, like NASA, into space with the merry-go-rounds. Okay.
I wish Dad was in here and would talk about the time he lighted his fart.
I mean, come on. I mean, this show has devolved now, but I mean,
Yeah, but that's okay. Let's go on to our favorite moldy cheese state of Wisconsin and talk about the Packtards. I mean, Packers.
yeah. Speaking of farts, that's a nice segue.
It was a great segue. Key losses. I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. Randall Cobb, Adrian Amos, who misses a lot of time from that secondary anyways. Then you had Robert Tonyan. That was a big loss as far as I'm concerned because he is a valid red zone threat and would be a commodity that they needed, and they decided not to re-sign him. And lo and behold, an acquisition for the Bears. Then you got the biggest one of them all. They finally did it. They finally got Karen Rodgers out of the division. Holly frickin' Luya.
They had no
Aaron
choice.
Rodgers, and yeah, the degrading that had been done, the DMT, the mushrooms, the dark room retreats, the I don't know if I want to play anymore.
It wasn't only that, but last year we were looking at it before the draft, and the Green Bay literally had to cut 10 guys just to make the budget.
Yeah.
You know, just to keep Rodgers in the building. There was no way Rodgers was going to survive and make it to this year. There's no way Green Bay could pay him. So
well, do you guys remember last year when they were trying to get rid of him and then somewhere out of nowhere it just devolved and they were like, oh, we got to keep him now and re-sign him?
Right. It was when they traded Devontae Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
But Devontae Adams wanted out as soon as he got that contract.
Oh, yeah.
He was like, nah, I'm done.
I just want to see now that Aaron Rodgers is over there with the Jets. I want to see what kind of parties him and Zach Wilson get into.
James Burgess, that's great. Michael Huck, we love you. FTP, yeah, absolutely. Fuck the Packers.
Hey, just thinking about that, what you just said, Valerie, I think Zach Wilson is a perfect teammate to have Aaron Rodgers with. Because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like his mom or his family anyway, so he's not going to get distracted with that.
Man.
Hey, you want to know why I think it's a perfect match? Look at the way that Zach Wilson acts and the way Aaron Rodgers acts. Zach Wilson is doing it without proving he has talent. Aaron Rodgers did it after he proved he had talent. So, therefore, he's going to say, hey, guy, calm down. Yes, we're the same, but you're way too young and not talented enough to pull the shit off I do.
You know what, though? We can't do that because Zach Wilson was thrown right into the fire where Rodgers sat the bench for 3 years behind one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He had a chance to learn the NFL, not just be said,
Right.
okay,
And Jordan Love has had the same thing. But at the same time, when Aaron Rodgers had to come in the couple of times that Brett Favre walked off a field for a quarter or a drive, he actually looked like a quarterback in those plays. Whereas Jordan Love came in and tried to do his best impression of bad Rodgers the first time he took the field. And that Aaron Rodgers left the NFC North due to fear of Kirby Joseph. And Aiden Hutchinson. You got to throw that in there because Aiden was getting his ass.
Right.
But fuck Rodgers. I'm glad the Packers were stupid enough not to trade him to Denver in 21. Yeah, that was the stupidest thing they did. When they rejected that trade, they offered the exact same thing that Seattle got, and you see how improved Seattle is now. There's a very
proven head coach.
And in all actuality, the Jets said, hey, we're getting Aaron Rodgers. Let's sign his old OC when he was good.
Smart.
Nathaniel Hackett. Smart move.
Absolutely. It was a great move on their part. And on paper, the Jets are actually a pretty solid team.
I think they're the second or maybe the third best team in that division, but they're a top 10 in that conference all day.
Oh, absolutely.
The only reason why I say that, because if Mr. I didn't have a concussion the first time Tua Tagovailoa is able to stay healthy for a season, I think Miami's just a smidge better.
I think if he can stay healthy, Miami's the best team in that division.
Could be. And I'm noticing also, if you look at the numbers, Josh Allen's numbers dipped last year. He looked worse than he did the year before with Brian Daboll as his offensive coordinator. Yep. Brian Daboll gone, he started to degrade his play. You saw some of the bad mechanics come back, the bad decision making, and Daboll wasn't on the sideline to grab him and say, hey, what the fuck are you doing?
So I agree with you completely. I'm very glad Brian Daboll is not there anymore.
Yeah, you're very glad he's your coach, aren't you?
Oh, I know. I wanted Brian Daboll to go to freaking Chicago, man. Damn it. We got Eberfuck.
No, suck there.
We got Eberfuck.
Yeah, you guys
fail.
Yeah, but you know what?
Ever lose?
The ball wouldn't have been out there. You guys would have ended up drafting Anthony Richardson #1 overall and developing a quarterback this year if he was out there.
So let's go over what we talked about, the three teams we talked about before we go to our favorite team. What's the Bears? Okay, for the Bears, what's your floor and what's your ceiling for wins there that you think is a possible?
Oh, let's see. What the hell? What did they do last year?
3-14.
Oh, yeah. Fuck.
I don't think it can be that bad. I think they got to be improved by a minimum of 2 games with what they added.
I'm going to go... I'm going to say 7-8. I'll go
7
there.
or 8 wins is what you're thinking?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think as much as I hate to say it, the floor for me, just because it shows improvement, it depends on whether it's Fields' fault or the defense's fault. 5 is the minimum any fan should accept because that's 2 better than last year. And I still think 9 is the ceiling. I think there is that outside shot they could get in the same position as the Lions were last year. Because if you think about it, build-wise, this year, they're where the Lions were last year, but they had more money to spend. That's the only difference.
And what irritated me is they had all the money to spend. They did acquire some good pieces out of that, especially with the Carolina trade in the draft part. But to be honest, most of these, I mean, you're talking about the spots where they upgraded were like D level, and now you raised them to like a C+. We're not talking great here.
Right, no. And that's why
with the money they had.
Remember, I was at 5-9 all off season with Detroit until Hard Knocks, and then I said, "Oh, let's make it 7-10." Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Hard Knocks.
Nine was the ceiling.
I'm gonna say
Nine was
7
the
or 8
ceiling.
wins for the Bears because they are. In all my years of watching NFL teams, they're the quirkiest of the whole NFL.
And
They're either on fire or on fire.
also, just to put a few of us fans in check that make fun of Chicago, what they were great at last year, 90% of their first drives were touchdowns.
Well, that's because Justin Fields is a hell of a runner.
That was part of it. Like, that was about 55% of those touchdowns. But
Cole Kmet's the other probably 50. But,
yeah, and then Darnell Mooney through the first 7 games before he got hurt.
Yeah.
Honestly, Justin Fields may be the best pure running back quarterback the NFL's ever seen, outside of Michael Vick.
Well, he's faster than Vic.
Yeah,
for one
yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
but
to
Vic
be
was-
when you're in Chicago.
But Vic was actually a better quarterback coming out of college than Fields was. That's
Yeah, because Fields went to Ohio State. Duh.
I love it when he brings that up. But that being said, yeah, and James Burgess, you're exactly right. Fields freaked people out early. His athleticism is scary good. But you know what? That's one of the reasons why I like C.J. Stroud as a quarterback. Just as a quarterback, better than I like Fields coming out of college, because he wasn't a part of that system all the time. He transferred in and became the starter. And he can read a defense way better than what Justin Fields could do, even when he was at Ohio State.
As much as I hate to say it, I really do like C.J. Stroud a lot.
Yeah, and I think Panthers. I think the Panthers are going to regret taking Bryce Young, who's 5'11", and is going to struggle to see over their 6'4" center.
Oh, I laughed at that
Stroud.
too.
I mean, I remember the best part was I saw Bryce Young go to take the podium for his first meeting, and they had to get out a step stool for him to stand on to be taller than the podium and reach the mic.
Yeah, what's he going to do on the field? Okay, are they going to bring a step stool every time he has to
saw
go out there and throw?
And one of the beat writers for Carolina even made a joke about it. They showed like a toddler walking between 2 offensive linemen, and it said Bryce Young on the back of the jersey.
But yeah, it's like I'm not a fan of C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young at all either. I mean, I had so many freaking Lions fans up my brewer end about both of these guys, and I was like, no, not in a million years, no.
Yeah, and 1960, like I said, I've got them at 5-9, and they have the widest floor and ceiling to me in the division because
they're so
they're so little. The better teams in the division didn't improve. Most of them devalued.
Yep. You figure they got 5 wins right there between. Well, not 5 wins. I'm sorry. You're going to take probably about 3 wins between the Packers and the Vikings right there. They may lose one of the Vikings.
I got to cut this a little short because I just realized it's time for my other show. So let me go ahead and quickly talk about the Lions. Okay, I got 5-9 for the Bears. Does anybody disagree totally with it?
No.
9 is an outside shot, and 5 is if it's abysmal, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Minnesota, I've got them in that 6-9 as well. I don't think they fell to where they're going to win less than 6, but I think it's 6-9. The Packers are in that same boat because defensively they're decent. Offensive is a question mark. The only thing they've got is great running backs and a couple of young wide receivers that are still unproven that has to prove that they learned as well as they looked by the end of the season.
I've got them in the 5 to 7 range.
That's okay. And then we got the Lions. I think 10 is the floor. I think we're better than we were last year defensively with the secondary. 10 has to be the floor. I more than likely see them as an 11 or 12 win team, but the ceiling is 13 on a fluke.
Yeah, I was saying 10 to 13 is what I was saying.
Yep.
That's.
Do you disagree with that, Dan?
The only part I'll disagree with is that 10 being the floor. I think 13 is your ceiling But I think like more realistically, 8 would be the floor, just if they have the same issues on defense they did last year, where it took them like half the
They
season.
should be able to do what they did last year. They've got 9 games, so they should be able to do at least what they did last year. So you could say it'd be a 9 maybe as the ceiling, but I mean the floor, but not 8.
I don't think it'll be.
8 is you're going backwards.
Right, because we won one game on accident, and that's just because we played the hapless Commanders.
That's true. Hey, I say everybody.
This has been a great show. I appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you, Val. Thank you, Dan. But I do have to jump over to South Florida Tribune with my publisher before he has a hairy conniption fit. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a great day. And remember, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before, because that's the only way to make the world a better place. And good night.
Spay and neuter your cats.